This video will be the rear brakes on a C300. This is the 2010 model. It's got 200,000 miles on it. I can't remember the last time I did the brakes, but they are definitely due. So we're gonna go ahead and put on Akebono pads and Zimmerman rotors. All right, so step one, jack it up. I'm just gonna do one side at a time. Now you've got to take off the tires, so you got 17 millimeters. So go ahead and get those off. So I want to take the caliper off. So there are bolts here and here. So there's little dust covers, which I already loosened up on the top. That pop off. And then what's inside there is a 7 millimeter Allen head. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this, and then the caliper itself will come off. So now that we got those caliper bolts out, I'm going to go ahead and take this spring clip off. So let me figure out the best way to do that. I think I can put this in here, just pull it out, and do the same on this side and just pull it out. All right, so I was able to get that in there and just back it out. I'll do the same on the bottom. It'll probably spring out and go flying, but oh, there we go. All right, doesn't go flying, but here it is. So now the caliper is totally free from the caliper bracket. So you can just go ahead and pull the caliper off. And this is what I've got for brake pad. So it's pretty low. Not rubbing metal to metal, but it is definitely low and time for a change. So then go ahead and get that out of the way. And then finish taking off the, well, I guess I started out of order. So I just have this loosely in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take the bolts out so this can come off, because the only way you get the rotor off is if you get the caliper bracket off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that too. Go ahead and take the caliper off. So there's two bolts in the back for the caliper. Both of them are 18 millimeter. All right, here we are. So you can see you've got one on the top, one on the bottom. There they are. But the problem is the socket on the top can't get in because this sway bar link is in the way. And I think it's just because of the way I jacked this up. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this jack stand underneath, supported by the control arm here, the lower control arm. And that should raise the sway bar link out of the way, so I have enough room to get in there with the ratchet. Otherwise I'll just use a wrench, but it's easier with a ratchet. All right, so now it's supported under the control arm, and the sway bar link moved back a bit, so it did pivot down, and I can get the ratchet on there. I mean, it's right up against the sway bar link, so I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to back it out much. I still think I'm gonna need a wrench once I loosen it to get in there. So again, that's an 18 millimeter. All right, so now we got the caliper and the caliper bracket off, so we're gonna go ahead and take this little screw out of here. So I already loosened it. These can be a bit of a pain, so just make sure your bit, so this is a T30, make sure your bit is in there good, because if it's not, you can strip that pretty easily, and then it's a bit of a pain to try to get it out. But that is there just to hold the rotor in place while you get everything off, or actually put back on too. So it sounds like the rotor is going to come off pretty easy. It doesn't seem like it's rusted on there. So let me go ahead and get that out and then pull the rotor. All right, rotor's off. Just a reminder, keep your parking brake off, because in the C300, the parking brake is using the inside of your rotor right in this area. So if you have that engaged, you're not going to be able to pull it off. So it is a fairly tight fit, I guess. So when you do take your rotor off, you just have to wiggle it back and forth to be able to get it to come all the way off. But just don't forget to keep your parking brake off. So now we'll just go ahead and pull the old brake pads out of the caliper. The one in the front here just pulls right out. The one in the back actually sits inside the piston. So I might just need a screwdriver to get in there, but here's how thick they should be. So when they're new versus where they are today. So I'm going to go ahead and again, get a screwdriver in here, pry that away, probably just like this. There we go. And then I'm going to take this out, and then we're going to go through the process of pushing the piston back into the caliper housing. So here's the caliper piston kit that I use. It just goes and pushes the piston back into the housing of the caliper. Here it is right now, set up to use. So I did start pushing the piston back a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. If you don't have a kit, then you can use a C-clamp. So what I used to do for years is use keep the old pad in here, and then take a C-clamp and clamp around here, and then just tighten up the C-clamp, and it's gonna push the piston in. All right, so I pushed the rear brake pad in, so that is the one that has these things on the back, so it just goes ahead and pushes right in. And then the second one just is kind of sitting in here. So set the caliper out of the way, and then go ahead and start working on getting your new rotor on. So before I put the new rotor on, I'm just gonna shoot a little brake clean on this on the outside. And then I got a little wire brush, which I'll probably just see if I can get some of this debris off, just to keep it a little cleaner, keep from having crap between the hub here and the rotor itself, causing more rust and eventually having that being a challenge to get the rotor off come years down the road when I have to do this again. All right, so now it's cleaned up. I'm gonna go ahead and take the new rotor. So the new rotor, it's a Zimmerman rotor. It's got the coating on it. And I'm gonna put some anti-seize on the inside here, on these areas, so that way the rotor doesn't get rusted to the hub. So let me do that. Okay, anti-seize is on the inside of the rotor, so we're all good here. I'm just gonna go ahead and mount the rotor. All right, so now the rotor's mounted, holes are all lined up. So take your little holding screw here and get that in, and then tighten it down. So next step is just to go ahead and get your caliper bracket on. So just like you took it off, it's gonna slide over the rotor, and then the 2 holes on the back side, we've got the bolts that we've got to put through there. So go ahead and get that done. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the caliper and go ahead and put it on the rotor. Obviously I need 2 hands, but once that's on there, then you can line up the bolts on the bracket and go ahead and tighten them down. So with the caliper sitting in place, like I said, just go ahead and get the bolts lined up at the top and the bottom, and then start tightening those. So we got those tightened up. We're just gonna put our little dust covers back on the back. I did put some anti-seize right there on both the top and the bottom, but I also put some where the brake pads are gonna slide over time slowly. As they start to get more and more worn, they're gonna slide in there, so that'll help them from getting bound up. But go ahead and put both your dust covers on. And then the last thing is going to be to get this little bracket back on the front. So for the little bracket, I'm just putting it in on the bottom first, and then I'm going to go ahead and hook the top in. So I'm going to hook that in right there. And then I'm gonna need to take a screwdriver again and pull it back so this top part can get around the outside, just like this is on the bottom. So there we go, clips in place. Go ahead now and put on the tire. The other side is gonna have one of these wear sensors. So when I get to that, on the other side, I'll show you how to put that in. You should see a wire coming in, and I believe it's right up here that this wear sensor is gonna end up clipping into when I get over there. So let me get working on the other side. I'll add that part in, and then we should be good. Now I'm over on the passenger side, and I'm gonna show where the wear sensor is. So you can see the wear sensor right here. So it's plugged into this. So you can unplug it pretty easily, and then go ahead and just pull it out of here. So I'll go ahead and pull it out once I get the caliper off and show you again. Here's a good picture of the wear sensor. So the wear sensor is right in here. This is the back pad on the passenger side, and it's just going to slide into a little hole. So when it's new, there's actually a little hole there for it to slide into. So here you go. Here's what it looks like. So that's the hole, and then as the pad wears, you're gonna start actually wearing on the piece that goes in there, which then sends a signal to the dashboard that will tell you your brakes are low. So this hasn't gone off yet, but you can see it has started to hit the wear sensor, and I'm sure it would go off probably in the next couple weeks or next month. So I pushed the wear sensor up and just got to pull it the rest of the way out. So here you go. So what it looks like. Not quite getting hit yet, but really close and just about to start getting hit. So on the passenger side, I was having some trouble because the brake pad itself was, the piston of the caliper was so far out that I couldn't pull the brake pad out. It was still hanging up inside on those little clips. And my tool, I wasn't able to get in between the brake pad and the caliper housing to put in here. So I had to go back to the old school C-clamp style that I was talking about before, just to be able to push it in. And these push in pretty easy, so it wasn't too bad, but that's what it looks like. So just sharing how you can do it with a C-clamp. I think this is a 6-inch C-clamp, but I would probably recommend getting one a little bit bigger because this one barely made it on. So maybe an 8-inch would be better. So here we are putting the wear sensor in. So it's the wear sensor, which is on the passenger side of the car. So I got all the new rotor and brakes all taken care of. So you can see this slides into the channel, the U-shaped channel right there that you can see. And then the little post slides into the hole that's there for the brake pad. So that's all you got to do. And once that's in, then you can go ahead and take this part and plug it in right here. And that's it for the wear sensor. So now everything's put back together. So you can see on the rotors, the coating that's put on these Zimmerman rotors. So you'll see that wear away all through here when you first start driving. It shouldn't take more than a few miles and a couple hard brakes to get that coating off of there, which is supposed to happen. And then all the other areas are the areas that stay coated to help with some rust protection. But that's it. Hopefully this helps. Like and subscribe. Thanks.